We're joined on the Crispin Flintoff show by Helen, Maggie, and Mary. How are you doing, Helen?
Doing very well, thank you. Thanks, Crispin.
And Maggie?
Yeah, very well. Thank you, Crispin, for having us on the show.
And enjoying the spring, Mary?
Yes, thank you very much. Sun shining here down in Hove.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Hove is a clue for what we're going to be talking about because we're actually going to be discussing a story about the MP for Hove and Port Slade, Peter Kyle, who we have had some discussions on before. Now, Peter Kyle has been involved in a trial for quite a few months. And the verdict for that trial was on Thursday, and it involved you three, and you were all outside the court here. As you can see a picture, stop arming Israel, stop killing children. Can I just ask you, what was this trial about? Would you like to speak, Maggie, to start with, because you contacted me on this?
Okay. So the trial was about back in August last year. We made a decision that we wanted to do something after the new government had got in Labour to make a point that we expected them to follow through on looking at arms export licenses and, well, just generally our involvement in what we consider is a genocide that was being carried out, still is, against the people of Palestine. And we, got together one Friday, well, the early hours of Saturday, and went to Peter Carr's office and put up some graffiti on his window, which were basically felt like demands on the government. He was our MP. He's a senior official. He's a vice chair in Labour Friends of Israel. So we felt he had some power and influence in all sorts of ways. So that's what we did.
So you put up some graffiti on the office of Peter Carr. You can see there. Now, I mean, it doesn't look. I mean, you have to really go in close to see it on the window there, but you can see it. So what happened after you put this up there?
So we were arrested. Somebody had seen us, although it was the early hours. It kind of wasn't that far into the morning. So we got seen, and there was a police car nearby that were notified, and they came to us really quickly and arrested us, and we were held for 16 hours.
Were you really shocked to be picked up that quickly? I mean, how did you think that happened?
I don't know what the others would say. I felt quite shocked initially. Yeah. That, we were told it was going to be taken really seriously, which of course, we were bringing up a serious subject, but the way being held for 16 hours and being told how serious it was, felt a bit kind of shocking in some ways. Yeah.
Do you want to say what was your experience of that, Mary?
Well, it was shocking to be bundled off to the police station. They kept us separate. They wouldn't let us talk to each other, and we were locked up individually in solitary confinement. And then the next day, when you're woken up, if you've slept at all, to get access to a solicitor was really quite difficult. We had to wait for a duty solicitor to come along. We had to wait for an interview. So we weren't interviewed till much later on in the afternoon. And we didn't see our solicitor to just before then, and not having any information about what was happening. We had one phone call to call family and friends, which was very brief. It was quite a difficult experience to be locked up in solitary confinement is not an easy thing once they slam that door on you.
Helen, what was your experience? What did you feel about
Well,
this?
I'm a science teacher, so when we got arrested, I said, "Oh, don't be silly, I'll go and scrub it off." But I got actually handcuffed because they took it so seriously. And then 16 hours, as I say, it's a concrete cell. There's nothing natural about it at all, apart from, fortunately, we do have oxygen, and there's water and a toilet there. But it is pretty dire, it's pretty horrible, and pretty extreme, in my opinion, for what we did. But hey ho, that's it. Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing why you decided on the action. I mean, you said it was the timing of Labour just coming in, but also you wrote to Peter Kyle before. I know that you sent me your emails that you sent Maggie, and his response to you on all these emails, these two emails, was just a generic one that he had probably sent to anyone. So he had not really registered what you had said. And then I see this is an email that you sent to him after his two emails, which says, "Hello, Peter. Thanks for your two recent emails. Following a recent lobby of Parliament, I've sent you a green card asking to meet with you regarding the continued genocide in Gaza and the supply of arms to Israel. I'm a Hove constituent. Can you please ask your office to contact me with a potential date for meeting? Thanks, Maggie Clifford." Can you describe the sort of frustration that you felt at not getting anything from him other than some kind of template that he'd got for all responses about?
Yeah, really frustrating. And I would even go so far as to say a bit distressing, because at the same time, like a lot of us in this country, or a lot of people internationally, are looking at their phones on an almost daily basis and seeing the carnage and the destruction and the killing that was going on, and having government officials that are making a decision, they don't need to have a conversation with you about it. And as you can see, I feel that the tone of the emails was really moderate. At no point was I rude or abusive or anything like that. Just to add that we also, at the same time, we had stalls locally. We were doing petitions. We tried to arrange a date with him to come to the office and hand in a petition. And he, it was quite clear he didn't want to do that. We did eventually do it. But, that, like, as we approached it, well, Mary, you were there, I wasn't. But as you approached the office, they put the blinds down, didn't they? And,
it's true.
Yeah.
So just moving on a bit to the court case, the trial, you were charged with criminal damage, I believe. So, can you tell us what happened in the trial? I mean, I also mentioned at the beginning that Peter Kyle attended the trial. So, Maggie, what happened when he was there? Were you there when he was in the court?
Yeah. So he arrived. He gave evidence first, I think. And then his office staff. So it's kind of the prosecution stuff in the morning, and then defence in the afternoon, which was basically the three of us having an opportunity to say why we'd done what we'd done, which was basically around, what we'd seen Israel doing and all of that side of things. And yeah, he was questioned about how, at some length, really, by the prosecution anyway, to give him an opportunity to say that he'd felt intimidated and worried about the impact of what we'd said, because it might make him a target, if not, to us, then to other constituents, and that it had an impact on his staff. And well, I will say that he went as far as to start to call us like assassins, and to mention Jo Cox's name, which I found really, outrageous, because she was, killed by a person who was fascist, and so liken our actions and, the peace and the love that we were trying to spread, to liken us to that action just felt, that made me take a real deep gulp, to hear that. He was told by the judge, he was told off by the judge and stopped from taking that any further, but he had already said enough for it to be clear what his argument was going to be. And then he kind of denied having much knowledge about the F-35s. He denied having anything to do really with the defence side of things. But then recently he's been doing the rounds on a regular basis, talking about Russia and Ukraine and lots of information about that. So he's obviously quite comfortable when he feels safe to when he feels it's okay for him to talk about it. So I don't believe he didn't know about F-35s.
Mary, what was your feeling about the court case? Because obviously you could speak out about what you were doing it for. So was this actually a great opportunity that you hadn't had? Even, I mean, the graffiti wasn't anything like as much as actually being able to be in a court and be heard. I mean, that was even better, wasn't it?
Well, yes, in a way it was, and hopefully it will get our word out, having been arrested. And going back to Peter Kyle's reaction, he very much played the victim, and I think tried very much to move the whole thing away from the issues that we were spotlighting, and trying to turn it around so that he was the victim. But yes, it was good in the end to be able to inform the court and the judge and everybody in the public gallery what we were doing and why we were doing it. And I do think that was taken seriously, but it does feel like the law has to clamp down on activists, and that there was no way, because he's an MP, that we were ever going to get away with anything less than criminal damage. But of course, who are the criminals in this case? Certainly not us. It is the Labour government who's complicit in genocide and is, breaking international law as well. The ICC have warrants out for Netanyahu's arrest. The ICJ ruled that it was a plausible genocide way back in beginning of 24.
I have to ask, because this is a very important part. Is what was the finding? What was the result of the trial?
So yeah, we were found guilty, and so we got a 6-month conditional discharge, which basically means if we behave for 6 months, then it isn't on our record, and we don't really have a conviction as such. It's just sitting there in case we do something between 6 months. Apparently we can be then resentenced for this crime, along with whatever we did new. So I guess for the authorities, with people that have a conditional discharge, they're then limited for a period of time. If you're an activist and you've got a conviction like that hanging over you, you may, it could have the effect of quietening you for a while, because you'd be worried about being retried for your old conviction along with the new, whatever it was. And then we didn't get a fine, but we do have to pay some court costs between the three of us. And so we're crowdfunding for that.
The attempt to intimidate you with the detention in a cell and the court case, has it really upset you? Are you going to be quiet now? I get the feeling, Maggie, that you're not going to do any more of this stuff, are you?
Obviously, I'm not going to lie, and I would say to anyone listening to this who's thinking about whether they want to do other things, it is really difficult experience to go through. You have to think about the impact on, for example, your livelihood and managing yourself, because it does have an impact on a lot of careers and whatever. I wouldn't say that it's going to keep me quiet. Let's put it that way. In fact, in some ways, I feel a bit emboldened and empowered because I've spoken up. And yeah, that's been an amazing feeling. But, you know, I would also want to say, you know, I work with Stop the War, and, you know, a lot of people, you know, obviously with the national demonstrations going on, a lot of people are gradually feeling more and more empowered. And, you know, everything, including the national demos, is having an impact on the government. So, yeah, I just want to say that I don't feel intimidated, and I encourage everyone to continue with what they can do. So yeah, I'm not silenced by no means. No.
This is a huge fight for humanity, really. International law is being ignored by our governments. And look at us three, you know, we're all in our excuse me, in our early 60s, and we're getting up off our backsides. Not everybody can take direct action, but you can join your local groups. You can write to your MPs if they'll listen. You can go on marches. There are many, many, many things that you can do. And yeah, it would be nice to think that we had influenced people to get up and to act, because yeah, there's a huge wider humanitarian issue here. It's not just about race or religion. It's about it's a big humanitarian issue.